When tears flow down your face, they are not just signs of your pain. They are the language of your soul, reaching out to the one who created you. God sees every tear you cry, and he does not turn his face away. Each tear is a prayer, a wordless expression of the deepest parts of your being, and God hears it. He hears what your mouth cannot say, what your heart struggles to express. When you cry, God moves. He moves not because of the sound of your weeping, but because of the faith hidden within your tears. He responds to the trust that you place in him when you come before him broken. God is not distant from your suffering. He is right there, closer than you can imagine. He bends low to lift you high. He collects your tears as treasures, keeping them as a record of your pain and your perseverance. God works in the unseen when you are at your weakest. While you cry, he is orchestrating solutions, opening doors you cannot see, and preparing a way where there seems to be no way. The very moment you feel abandoned is the moment he is most active. It's in the silence of your despair that God prepares the loudest victory. He is not indifferent to your struggles. He uses them to mold you, to strengthen you, to bring out a version of you that is more powerful and refined. Your tears are not wasted, they are seeds. Every tear you shed waters the ground of your purpose. Every drop is preparing the harvest of your destiny. God is not just watching you cry, he is using your tears to write a story of redemption, hope, and restoration. He does not delight in your pain, but he takes what was meant to destroy you and turns it into the very thing that propels you forward. So cry if you must, but know this: God is working. He is reshaping your life, aligning people, events, and circumstances for your good. Your tears are not a sign of weakness. They are proof that you are alive, that you are still pressing on, still holding on to the hope that God will come through. And he will. He always does. Keep the faith even through the tears. Trust the process even when it hurts. For when you cry, God moves mountains, silences storms, and breathes new life into your brokenness. Tears are not just an emotional response. They are a language of the Spirit, a deep and profound way of communicating with God. When your heart is too heavy, when the pain is too overwhelming for words to capture, your tears speak for you. They carry the weight of your unspoken prayers, the cries of your soul that no one else can hear. Every tear you shed is a message sent to heaven, and God understands it fully. He reads the meaning behind every drop, every sob, and every silent plea. In moments when you feel utterly broken, your tears express what your heart longs to say but cannot articulate. They are prayers without words, carried by the faith that somehow, somewhere, God is listening. And he is. God never ignores the language of tears. He is attuned to the voice of your pain and sees your vulnerability as an act of surrender to him. Even when it feels like no one understands, even when the world seems indifferent, God is moved by your tears because they come from the deepest, most sincere place within you. Your tears reveal your dependence on him, your trust that he alone holds the answers. They are not just a release of emotion, they are an offering, a way of laying your burdens at his feet. God treasures your tears because they represent your willingness to lean on him, to come before him with your struggles, fears, and hopes. When you cry, you are not just venting, you are reaching out to the Creator who knows you better than you know yourself. In those moments of weeping, you may feel vulnerable, but God sees your tears as sacred. He sees the faith hidden in them, the belief that even in your pain, he is the one who can bring comfort, healing, and restoration. So do not underestimate the power of your tears. They are not a sign of defeat, but of your connection to the one who turns sorrow into joy and mourning into dancing. God sees every tear that falls from your eyes and hears the unspoken cries of your heart. There is not a single moment of your pain that escapes his attention. He is a God who is deeply personal, intimately aware of your every struggle, and moved by the depth of your sorrow. When you cry, you may feel invisible to the world, but you are never invisible to him. His eyes are upon you, not in judgment, but in love, compassion, and understanding. Every tear is counted, every cry recorded, because you are precious to him. He does not overlook your suffering or dismiss your emotions as insignificant. Instead, he leans in closer, listening to the groaning of your spirit, interpreting the language of your tears. He understands the depth of your pain better than anyone ever could, because he sees not only the surface, but the very core of your being. When you cry, God's heart is moved. He is not a distant observer, but a loving father who draws near to his child in their time of need. He feels your anguish and responds with tender care. Even in moments of silence, when it seems as though nothing is happening, he is actively working behind the scenes. He sees the brokenness within you, and his love compels him to act. He sees your struggle and hears the silent plea in every drop that falls. Your tears are a testimony that you trust him enough to bring your pain to him. They are evidence that even in your weakest moments, you believe he is the one who can bring healing and restoration. God's attention is not passive, it is purposeful. When he sees your tears, he doesn't just observe them, he responds with power, compassion, and a plan to turn your sorrow into something beautiful. Even when you cannot put your pain into words, God hears the message of your tears loud and clear, and he is already moving on your behalf. When you cry, God is not idle. He moves with purpose and power, responding to the pain behind your tears in ways that you may not see immediately but will one day understand. Your tears are not ignored, they stir the heart of God, and he begins to work in the unseen realms. While you are weeping, he is aligning people, situations, and events to bring about the breakthrough you desperately need. In your moments of despair, it may feel as though nothing is happening, but God is never still. His timing is perfect, and he is orchestrating a plan that will bring healing and restoration to your life. Every tear you cry is a signal to heaven, and God moves with precision to address the deepest needs of your heart. He is a God of action, and your pain does not paralyze him, it mobilizes him to move on your behalf. While you cry, God is fighting battles you cannot see. He is silencing the voices of doubt, breaking chains of fear, and removing obstacles that stand in the way of your victory. He is preparing a way where there seems to be no way, creating solutions that go beyond human understanding. Even when you feel like giving up, God is steadfast, working tirelessly to bring beauty out of your ashes. God's response to your tears is not always immediate or visible, but it is always active. He moves in ways that require faith to recognize, shifting the pieces of your life into place for a greater purpose. He knows what you need when you need it and how to bring it to you. While you are weeping, he is preparing joy. While you are in the depths of sorrow, he is building the foundation of your triumph. Trust that your tears are not wasted. Each one moves the heart of God and sets his divine power into motion. He sees the end from the beginning and is working to turn your pain into a testimony of his faithfulness. Even in the silence, God is at work. And when the time is right, you will see the full extent of what he has done in response to every tear you cried. In your moments of deepest pain, when it feels like the world has abandoned you, God is closer than you can imagine. He is not a distant figure watching your suffering from afar. He is right there, in the middle of your brokenness, holding you with a love that never wavers. When your heart is shattered and your tears fall like rain, God draws near to you with tender compassion. His presence is not something you must search for, it surrounds you, even when you feel completely alone. God is intimately aware of your every feeling, your every thought, and your every tear. He is not indifferent to your suffering. Instead, he meets you in your pain, offering his comfort and strength in ways that go beyond human understanding. He does not leave you to navigate your hurt on your own. He walks with you, carrying the weight of your burden when you feel too weak to continue. In those moments when you feel utterly alone, God whispers to your spirit, reminding you that you are not forgotten. He embraces you with his love, speaking peace to your storm, even if you cannot hear it immediately. His presence is a balm to your wounded heart, a reminder that you are never truly abandoned, even when circumstances seem overwhelming. God is closer to you in your suffering than at any other time. The very act of crying out to him invites his presence into your situation. He does not turn away from your tears, he moves toward them. He kneels beside you as a loving father comforts his child, wiping away your tears and reminding you that his love is unshakable. Even when you cannot feel him, he is there, closer than your own breath, strengthening you from within. He stands with you, a firm and unchanging presence in the midst of your pain. When you cry, God not only sees your tears, he wraps you in his arms, assuring you that you are not alone. His nearness is your greatest comfort, a constant reminder that he will never leave nor forsake you, no matter how dark the night may seem. While you cry, God is working in ways that your eyes cannot see and your mind cannot comprehend. His actions are not confined to what is visible or immediate. They take place in the unseen realms, where he weaves together circumstances for your ultimate good. God's response to your tears goes far beyond what is evident. Even when it feels like nothing is changing, he is moving mountains, shifting situations, and opening doors that you didn't even know existed. Behind the scenes, God is orchestrating divine connections, aligning opportunities, and removing obstacles that you could never overcome on your own. He sees the full picture, the past, the present, and the future, and he is carefully working to bring everything into alignment with his perfect plan for your life. Every tear you cry becomes part of a greater story, a testimony that will one day reveal the depth of his faithfulness. When you are at your weakest, God's strength is made perfect. While you are consumed by sorrow, he is preparing joy. While you are overwhelmed by the weight of your burden, he is setting you free in ways you cannot yet understand. He is not limited by time or space. His work is thorough and complete. God's unseen hand is always active, touching lives, changing hearts, and paving a way for your breakthrough. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, trust that God is already at work. He is not bound by the constraints of human logic or limited by what you can perceive. His actions are intentional and his timing is flawless. While you are crying, he is planting seeds of hope, peace, and restoration that will blossom at just the right moment. God is not a passive observer of your pain. He is deeply involved, working tirelessly to bring about the answers you've been waiting for. You may not see the evidence immediately, but faith reminds you that God is faithful. When the time is right, the veil will be lifted and you will see the full extent of his work. Until then, rest in the assurance that while you cry, God is moving mightily on your behalf, bringing solutions, healing, and victory in ways that only he can. When you cry, God not only hears you, but he begins to heal the brokenness within you. Your tears are not a sign of weakness. They are a pathway to restoration. In those moments of deep sorrow, when you feel like pieces of your heart are scattered and beyond repair, God moves to bring wholeness to your soul. He understands the depth of your pain, the wounds that no one else can see, and he works tenderly to bind them up. Healing is a process, and God knows exactly what you need to recover fully. He doesn't rush you or dismiss your emotions. Instead, he meets you where you are, taking every tear as a step toward restoration. While you may feel broken, God sees you as someone worthy of his touch, someone he is committed to making whole again. He does not just address the surface, he goes to the root of your pain, removing bitterness, fear, and despair from your heart. God's healing is not limited to your emotions. It extends to every area of your life, your spirit, your relationships, your dreams. Where there has been loss, he brings restoration. Where there has been rejection, he fills you with acceptance. Where there has been betrayal, he surrounds you with his steadfast love. While you cry, God is mending the unseen fractures in your soul, piecing you back together with his grace. This healing is not something you have to earn or strive for. It flows from God's love for you, a love so deep that it refuses to leave you in a place of brokenness. He takes your tears, collects them, and uses them as part of the transformation process. Every drop represents a step closer to the healing that he has promised. Even if the pain feels overwhelming, trust that God is at work. He is the great physician, and no wound is too deep for him to heal. In his hands, your pain is not wasted. It becomes the very material he uses to create something beautiful in your life. When the healing is complete, you will not only feel restored, but you will carry a strength and a peace that testify to the power of God's love. When you cry, God is not only present, but begins to transform your pain into a source of strength and purpose. The tears you shed, though born of sorrow, are not wasted. They carry within them the seeds of growth, resilience, and a deeper understanding of his plan for your life. What feels like the end is often the beginning of something far greater. God takes your brokenness and turns it into a foundation for something extraordinary. Your pain has a purpose. Though it may not be clear in the moment, God is working to shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable of fulfilling the destiny he has set before you. Every tear becomes a lesson, every struggle a stepping stone toward the person he is calling you to be. God uses your pain to refine you, removing the doubts, fears, and insecurities that hold you back and replacing them with faith, courage, and clarity. In the hands of God, your tears become tools for transformation. He uses them to reshape your perspective, teaching you to see challenges not as setbacks, but as opportunities for growth. The very pain that threatens to break you becomes the catalyst for building a stronger version of yourself. As you cry out to Him, He is molding your character, deepening your empathy, and equipping you with the wisdom to navigate future trials. God does not waste pain. He turns it into purpose, crafting a story that not only heals you, but inspires others. Your tears may seem insignificant in the moment, but they are part of a divine narrative. Through your struggles, God is preparing you to walk into your destiny with confidence and assurance, knowing that you have been tested and found strong. As God transforms your pain, He also aligns it with His greater purpose. The trials you face today become the testimonies that will encourage others tomorrow. The lessons learned in your darkest moments become the light that guides others through their own struggles. What the enemy meant for harm, God turns for good, ensuring that your pain is not only redeemed, but becomes a powerful tool in His hands. Even in your tears, God is crafting something beautiful. He is shaping you into someone who reflects His glory, someone who walks with purpose, power, and unwavering faith. Trust that your cries are not the end. They are the beginning of a transformation that will reveal the fullness of His love and purpose in your life. When you cry, God is working to break the chains of the past and free you from the emotional burdens that weigh you down. Pain has a way of trapping us in the past, and sometimes we find ourselves anchored by regrets, guilt, unforgiveness, and old wounds. These chains can keep us from moving forward, holding us back from stepping into the full potential that God has for us. But when you cry, God steps in to break those chains, setting you free from the grip of your past. God understands the power of past experiences to shape our present mindset. He knows how certain memories and wounds can haunt you, replaying in your mind and keeping you stuck in cycles of shame, anger, or fear. But He is not just a God who hears your tears. He is a God who breaks every chain. As you cry, He is working behind the scenes to free you from the emotional scars that have been limiting your ability to move forward. He takes your sorrow and turns it into the power to release you from the emotional prisons you have built around yourself. God does not want you to remain trapped in yesterday's pain. He is committed to your freedom. With every tear you shed, He is unlocking the doors that have held you captive, whether they are doors of guilt, shame, bitterness, or fear. You may not see the immediate change, but God is working in ways that will eventually bring a profound sense of freedom to your heart. When you cry, God begins to dismantle the emotional barriers you've built, breaking the strongholds that have kept you from walking in the fullness of His calling. God doesn't just heal the pain, He removes the source of the bondage. His work is complete, and He offers you not only healing, but also a renewed mind. As He releases you from the chains of the past, He fills you with new strength and new vision. He opens your eyes to the future He has planned for you, one that is not defined by past hurts, but by His grace and purpose. The chains of shame, fear, and bitterness no longer have control over you. God is making you whole, healing you from the inside out. This process is not always easy, but it is necessary for your spiritual growth. Sometimes you need to let go of the past in order to fully embrace the future God has for you. As you cry, He is working on the deep wounds that need His attention, healing them in ways that will bring lasting freedom. The tears you shed are part of the process of release, letting go of what has held you back so you can walk forward into the life He has prepared for you. In the moments of your deepest sorrow, when you feel like you will never be free, remember this: God is breaking every chain that binds you. He is working to remove the emotional burdens that have weighed you down for too long. When you cry, God is not only responding to your pain, but also breaking the chains of your past and giving you the freedom to move forward into His promises. Trust in His work and know that He is setting you free. When you cry, God is not just hearing your pain, He is drawing you closer to Himself. In your tears, there is a spiritual intimacy that you cannot find in moments of joy or peace. Pain has a way of opening up the depths of your soul And it is during these times of sorrow that God invites you into a deeper relationship with Him. He doesn't just stand by as a distant observer. He comes near, wrapping His arms around you in the most personal and loving way. God knows that in your pain, you are most vulnerable. It is often in our moments of brokenness that we allow ourselves to open up, to surrender our control, and to fully depend on Him. When you cry, God takes advantage of this openness. He draws near to you in ways that are not possible when everything is going well. Your tears become a bridge that connects your heart to His, and in those moments, you experience the purest form of His love, comfort, and presence. In the midst of your tears, God is not condemning you or telling you to move on quickly. He doesn't brush aside your sorrow or tell you to snap out of it. Instead, He understands that your heart is breaking, and He draws near to comfort you. His closeness is an invitation to go deeper into His presence. The rawness of your emotions creates a sacred space for His Spirit to work in your life. In your vulnerability, God reveals more of Himself to you, allowing you to experience His love in ways you may not have understood before. God is not afraid of your tears. In fact, He welcomes them. They are a sign that you are seeking Him, reaching out for His help, and acknowledging your need for His presence. Every tear you shed, every cry of distress draws Him closer to you. The depth of your pain becomes the depth of His response, and in that sacred place, you are transformed. It is in those moments when you feel overwhelmed and helpless that God is closest to you. You may feel abandoned, but He is right there, pulling you into a deeper connection with Him. Your tears are not a sign of weakness in His eyes. They are a sign of trust, a willingness to open yourself up to His healing and embrace. He sees your pain and says, "Come to me. I am here for you. I will never leave you, and I am going to carry you through this." In your sorrow, God is not distant. He is not just a figure watching from afar. He is near to you, listening to every word you speak and understanding the emotions you cannot express. He wants you to know that your tears matter to Him, that He hears your cries and is using this time to build a deeper, more intimate relationship with you. When you cry, God draws near, and in that closeness, you find the strength to heal, the courage to keep going, and the comfort of His unshakable love. When you cry, God is preparing you for the breakthrough you have been waiting for. Your tears, though born out of distress, are not signs of defeat, but rather signals that God is at work in your life, preparing you for something greater. The pain you feel, the sorrow you experience, and the heartache you endure are all part of a divine process that leads to your personal growth and ultimate breakthrough. It's in these very moments of vulnerability that God does some of His most profound work in your life. You see, breakthrough rarely comes without a struggle. It's in the trials, the hardships, and the deep emotional moments that God refines you. He uses your pain as the catalyst to mold you into a stronger, more resilient person, ready to handle the blessing that He is preparing for you. When you cry, you are not just experiencing sorrow, you are being positioned for a life-changing breakthrough. Your tears are breaking down barriers, removing obstacles, and clearing the path for something new and wonderful to enter your life. God's process is not always quick or easy. It takes time, patience, and perseverance. He allows you to feel the weight of your tears because He knows they are shaping you for a future that you may not yet fully understand. The breakthrough you long for is not just about receiving a blessing, it's about becoming the person capable of receiving and stewarding that blessing. Through the pain, God is strengthening your faith, expanding your capacity to trust Him, and developing in you a perseverance that will sustain you through every season of your life. The breakthrough God is preparing for you is often on the other side of your deepest pain. When you cry, remember that God is using that moment to stretch your heart and your spirit, to teach you endurance, and to develop in you the inner strength needed to carry the answers to your prayers. He is preparing you to stand in the fullness of His promises, to walk through doors that once seemed closed, and to experience a victory that was forged in the furnace of adversity. In those moments of deep sorrow, God is doing something powerful inside of you. He is removing everything that could hinder the fulfillment of His plans for your life. Just as gold is refined in fire, so too are you being refined in the fire of your emotions. As you cry out to Him, God is burning away the impurities, the doubts, and the insecurities that have held you back so that you can step into the new season of favor and breakthrough He has prepared for you. Your breakthrough may not come in the way you expect, but rest assured that God is working behind the scenes to bring it to pass. As you cry, God is opening doors, aligning circumstances, and preparing people to come into your life at just the right moment. The tears you shed are the labor pains before the birth of a new season. Trust in the process. Trust that God knows exactly when to deliver your breakthrough. He is preparing you not just for the blessing, but for the responsibility and the impact that will come with it. Through your tears, God is shaping you into someone who will walk in the fullness of His power, someone who is ready to receive the breakthrough He has promised, and someone who will be a testimony to the greatness of His faithfulness. In conclusion, when you cry, know that God is not distant or indifferent to your pain. He is present, working in ways you cannot see, transforming your tears into a powerful tool for growth, healing, and breakthrough. Every tear you shed is a sign of His deep involvement in your life, preparing you for a future that is far greater than you could ever imagine. In your sorrow, He draws near, breaks the chains of your past, and builds the foundation for a life filled with purpose, strength, and divine favor. Trust in His process, for your tears are not in vain. They are the precursor to the great things God is about to reveal in your life. Keep faith, keep hope, and remember that in your moments of pain, God is doing something miraculous, transforming your struggles into the stepping stones for your greatest breakthrough yet.